Then I would like to introduce to you the first speaker of the very first session, and she is Dr. Helen Chu. So she served as the very first woman Korea's the head of the health center in Korea, and also well known as the first doctor specializing in AIDS. She made a contribution in discovering HIV carriers and making AIDS serology test mandatory. Please welcome her with a big hand.
안녕하셨어요. 제가 조금 오른쪽.
Good afternoon. It is sorry that I am up to the stage because on my way here there was a small traffic accident. It is my honor to be part of the second global conference for women in maritime with so many distinguished guests today. I'm from the Hamgyong, and especially in the North Korea. And through my parents, I came to know about the gods, and I really learned about how precious it is to have democracy. And also, both of my parents graduated medical school, and also my dad was also doctor, and also my mother opened a small hospital in Wangsimni and also treated the patients. And also until she passed away on the age of 100, she kept her hospital. And also that hospital is now turned into care house for the elderly. And also we donated the asset of my father to the Korea University of Medical Studies. And also my dad went to Africa to become a special advisor to the public health in Africa. And also my dad was very proud of what he has done. And also he was a pioneer of the preventive medicine, thinking that prevention is the best treatment. And also, when I was growing up, I was very fond of music. I wanted to become a singer. And also, my dad persuaded me, saying that a doctor will probably contribute to society more than a singer. So I was also became interested in the preventive medicine. And also, I attended the medical school in Uganda and studied about the sleeping sickness caused by the tsetse fly. And also I discovered HIV for the first time, and then I received a doctor's degree in Japan. And when I was 26 years old, I became the very first and the youngest woman doctor. And also I served myself as the head of the public health center in Yangcheon and also in so many other places. And my last public health center to lead was Yongsan Health Center. So after I retired, still, I really miss those days. I served myself as the head of the public health center. And there are a number of memories that I personally keep in my mind. So when I was leading the Okcheon Public Health Center, there was a young patient who really cried out that, please just cut my legs. And also there were patients who just really wielded the violence out of sickness. And also the rural areas in the past in Korea was just a blind spot of a social network. So there was only a number of small medical centers, and meaning that there were not many people who even could talk to doctors. So I really could not just sit in the public health center, but I just went to the site in order to take after the patients in rural areas. And in Chungbuk area, I had to put so many memories I made to the past, and also especially I went to the Yongsan area where there was a red light street and there were many sex workers, and it became the, for example, the birth of the diseases. And I'm a woman and you're a woman, and also they really criticize that we are the same woman. I don't want to receive any treatment, or I don't want to receive the diagnosis. And I thought to myself that they must be in so difficult a situation to just work as a sex worker. And I just literally stayed with them and I became a friend of them. And at first, they made fun of me, but later on, they really could feel my sincere heart toward them, and we all became friends. And also, we had a joint association with the US, and also we exchanged information about the diseases, and also we talked about how to adopt the orphans. And this system that we established back then is in full operation in nationwide in the US. And also I was recognized for my recognition that I made when I was leading the public health center. And also I again came to serve as the head of the public center in Yongsan. Again, that Yongsan area, it was very important for me to manage the sex-oriented diseases. And also, along with the 8th U.S. Army, we established a system to manage the prostitutes. There was an association and also a community that we built in each different regions, Ujeongbu and also Yongsan, and also in Itaewon as well, so that they voluntarily participated in diagnosis. So this community has been developed all along. For example, Kenari in Yongsan was renamed as another community, and it was developed into a community to represent women living in there. And also every once in a week, we had a team meeting with the U.S. 8th Army at 7 in the morning. And Dr. Connell left a letter on the table, and he let me know that this is a letter about a syndrome prevalent among women. That was the topic of the film. I became very interested in that. And also, I heard that serology test of one black woman turned positive. So I sent a letter to a center. This needs an epidemiological test. And then in cooperation with the 8th Army, 평택, 안장리, 뭉산, 동두천, all of the areas where the U.S. Army resides, we have conducted a serology test on 450 people, and one prostitute who used to live with the black male soldier turned out to be positive in its test. And also, for the first time in the Northeast Asia, that was the very first case for AIDS. And it is mandatory to take the test in Korea, unlike in the US. And also, I sent a letter to the head of the hospital in the USA. So for the military personnel who go abroad to serve the duty, I said that you have to make the serology test mandatory for the military personnel who will station in other countries. So that was the contribution that I made. So globally, that was a very strong foundation to prevent AIDS, because AIDS is a transnational disease. And so head of the Walter Reed Hospital and also the head of the U.S. Army, I really wanted to thank them for this, and also the staff members of the Yongsan Public Health Centers were invited to the U.S. and we had a party together, which garnered attention from the U.S. Media. And also I explained what I did to the media, and also what I have done here in Korea was written as an article by many news agencies. So I really felt proud of myself. And back in the 1990s, for the first time, again, the serology test was conducted by public health centers in Korea, and luckily that was well settled down as a job of public health centers. Back then, that test was taken by another agency, meaning that it took a very long time, and that was a complaint by the AIDS patient. So I really raised my voice that this serology test should be done by the public health center in Korea, and then this system was expanded nationwide in Korea. So for the first time in Korea, Gangnam-gu office was chosen as an agency to provide education on that. So more job, but still I felt really proud of that. And it was known to the US, and also I was invited as a visiting scholar to the George Washington University in the US, and also as an epidemiologist and also special advisor. I worked for the USA NHI, and also I fully provided support for collaboration between the white people and also black people in the U.S. And also there was the election going on in the U.S. And as you know, 90% of the residents are African American, and also mainly there are people who are the believers of the Baptist Church. And there was the church that I went to one day, and there was the pastor who gave us a preach, and also he asked me to go to another university, and then I was heard that the person that I met became the very first woman mayor of that region. And also she asked me whether I could lead the Asian woman community, and I said yes, and she became the first elected woman mayor in the region. Since then, again, the pastor, King, Martin Luther King, was one of the organization. I became the member as the first Asian woman. There is a street which is named after very famous people, and onto the King's Road, under the ceremony, when we say King's Road, there are many statues. For example, the statue of Roosevelt, and there is a statue of Martin Luther King on the street. I made a promise with this person: when you elected as the mayor of the George Washington, please establish the Department of Korean Studies in your university. Back then, there was an uneasiness between the Korea and the U.S., but since she is elected as a mayor in that region, in support of the financial support of the 500,000 USD, she really kept the promise by establishing the Department of the Korean Studies, and that is one of the popular departments. And again, I believe that the Department of the Korean Studies will contribute really to harmonize Korea and also the US. And also back then, the Vice President Al Gore, I also met with him, and also Secretary of him is African American, and also I came across with the person, and also onto the along with the WHO and the UNEP, and for the all other UN agencies are one of the agencies that I serve as a special advisor. So I believe that it is very meaningful to become a special advisor because for the first time, especially my dad worked for East Africa and all other African countries, and my dad used to be in charge of epidemiological preventive work in that region. And after returning to Korea, again, I directly ran a health checkup center, knowing the importance of the prevention. And also, I received the grand prize in public health, which is the most important prize in public sector. Moreover, I think my parents would be very happy for the fact that I received the grand prize. So this year, I think I'm 75 years old, and this year marks the 30th anniversary after retirement. And I read newspaper in Yanggu area in Gangwon province. The head of the public center needs to be appointed, and I applied to be a candidate for the head of the public center. And the person in charge asked me, "Can you hear well? And can you go up to the stairs without sticks? And your voice sounds very young." That's what I was told. And again, I passed my document, and I attended an interview, and there were 5 people in the interview room, and they asked me no questions. They know me well, but I asked them whether I asked more questions, and they did not ask me any questions, right? But they really knew what I have done, what I know, and what I can do. So for about an hour and 45 minutes, they asked me several questions. I just felt that I will be appointed as the head of the public health center in Yanggu area. So I received appointment letter as of the 15th of June. So Yanggu is located at the very center of South Korea. And also the area of the Yanggu is larger by 1.7 times the Seoul. And there's serious issues around the public population decrease. Not a single baby was born this year. So whenever you have chances to pay a visit to Yanggu, or whenever you look up the information about that, this is a very good area to live. It really has a pristine nature around, but still it is vulnerable to diseases caused by the wildlife. So we came to exchange information with relevant agencies in order to conduct a monitoring on the occurrence of diseases, and we are looking for ways to better protect the residents of the Yanggu. And also we have came to hold the new symposium in Yanggu, and follow-up measures are being taken. Looking back, there were many trials and errors throughout my life, but I never backed down. I never disappointed, and I overcame all those difficulties. And I do have a can-do spirit that's inherited by my parents, and that's how I grew up as a doctor. Especially my father taught about how I should live my life, and also my mother taught about the importance of the religion. So when every single time I came across with the trials and errors, they were really pillars who supported myself. So whenever the phrase that I keep in my mind is, "This shall also pass," and remembering all that really changed myself as a positive person. So everything shall pass. Either it is happiness, either it is sadness. So every single time I really tried my best in order to keep my mind positive. So again, I would like to share this positive spirit with all of you who are present. So before thinking what has the state has and also society has done for me, I always think first, what have I really done for the country and society? So I think this question should be asked by all the Korean citizens in Korea. So as long as you keep this question in your mind, you will probably not criticize or blame others. There are two persons, Professor Kim Dong-gil and also Kim Hyung-suk. Recently, for the development of the medical industry, they have devoted, they have donated their body to the medical school. And I think that really touched our hearts. So I would like to share with you what they have told me. When people do something for others, they say that they grow and develop and become happy. This is it from me. I have shared with you my personal story and also can-do spirit. I would like to thank you all for paying attention. Thank you so much.
됐습니까?
Thank you very much, Dr. Chu, for your presentation. Today, thinking about today's medical system, it's very well advanced and developed, and the foundation was laid by Dr. Chu and many others and their devotion. We'll now have a discussion session, so we're going to invite our moderator and panelists all at the same time up to the stage. And when we begin our discussion, if you have any questions or comments, like what motivates you, Dr. Chu, constantly? What gets you going? Like, if you have any questions, be prepared to ask any questions for them. And while the stage is being set up, allow me to please introduce to you our moderator and panelists. Our moderator is one of the persons that I really respect, Chung Im-yu, CEO of Busan Gyeongnam region of News One, and we'll be joined by Dr. Chu and Woo Kyung-ha, Secretary General of TPO. Please welcome them with a big hand. Shall we welcome them once again? Please be seated. So, is it okay if I say hello to you being seated? Hi everyone, my name is Yoo Chang-im, CEO of Busan Gyeongnam region of News One. I thought I was the most energetic, person in the world, but then after listening, to Dr. Chu's presentation, I realized that I was wrong. And I also learned that I really need to challenge myself more and live with more enthusiasm. And I'd like to really thank Dr. Chu for, pioneering the path for us to follow with more passion and enthusiasm. You've met Dr. Chu already. Why don't you? Hi, my name is Woo Kyung-ha. Right now, I am working at an international organization related to tourism. But before that, for the past 35 years, I've worked in the field of diplomacy. And my last position was an ambassador in Australia. So I had many opportunities to meet women, female leaders all around the world. So if time allows, I will, share some of my experiences. Really good to see you. So let us begin. So we're talking about women's leadership, right? And focusing on maritime field. Right now, let's just talk about, women's leadership in general. I go around and, do some research and I see a lot of things changed over time. A few years ago, when I go around and interview people, it would be only women who would, serve out coffees and everything, even if they're, older than many of men there. But today, I see younger men serving coffee rather than, women. I see that as a huge change. So advancement of women into society brought up a lot of changes, right? So Dr. Chu, you lived in the, era where a lot of, women struggled due to.
Yes, I truly feel that change. Personally, I think when I was graduating the medical study, my dad came around because I had to study for about 9 years, unless because I had to sing and I played the piano, and I really did not only concentrate on my study. And others graduated the school after 6 years. And my dad told me, "You're something else. You're very special." And he also told me that I'm so proud of you. And just general doctors would treat patients, but I think you will just go beyond that and you will just treat mankind, and you will probably treat the state. But I had no idea what he meant back then. But for 22 years over time, while I was serving myself as the head of the public center, I was absolutely crazy about work. I was a workaholic, and I went all around the world and I saw so many things. 2 years ago, when I received a prize for medical service, I had to prove myself what I have done for the last 40 to 50 years. And I literally looked up, I literally kept all the records that I wrote for the last 40 to 50 years over time. And I could find the pictures taken back in 1970s, and I was going to throw it away, but other people really put me off. And thanks to all the records that I kept, I could receive the best prize, the grand prize in public health. And back in the 1960s and 70s, when I was in my 20s, I was the head of the public center at a very young age. And many people would think that she became the head thanks to her parents, and also thanks to her parents. But if you do something not only for yourself but for others, you can achieve many things. Up until now, I never had a quarrel with others. All I did was just to do my job at my position. And I literally witnessed all the changes. So whenever you look at the people after you, the younger people, you can really see that there has been a change. So again, I became the head of the public health center in my 70s. I'm 75 years old, and many people thought that I'm old to become the public health center head, but I really tried to be looking younger by wearing a jean and just wearing a shirt, right? So nowadays, the younger generation really can do better than I myself. So I try to really look younger. So you have talked about all the changes that you have felt, and what do you think?
So you, as far as I know, you have a daughter, right? What kind of change do you see? Yes, a drastic change. Let me share with you one of my experiences. I was in mid-30s when I was working overseas, and then I met a husband of a neighboring country's ambassador who was a female, right? And then that husband was actually house husband. He was working at home. You know, he does all the housework and he would, go grocery shopping and he would take their kids to school while his wife was working full time. I was truly surprised and shocked, and I wondered to myself, like, if I were him, would I be able to do that? So it's a change, true change. I mean, the world has changed, and my paradigm, the way I think has also changed. So a while later, one of my colleagues was getting married, and the husband had a great job, but then as they got married, the husband quit his job and supported his wife, who was also a diplomat. So the leadership, there is no division or exclusion of a gender, right? Women could be the leader of a house or in any field today. At first, I was surprised, but now, it's, the general phenomenon. So the gender's role in society, our physical kind of gender does not matter anymore. So then the leadership difference between women and men, do you see any, or do you consider it is just the physical difference?
그때
So after I graduated my medical school, when I was growing up, my mother treated the people, and I joined my mother by carrying the medicines. And then the patient told me that, oh, you're pretty and you're doing really good things along with your mother. There was one day where the visitor came to the public health center, and the younger person really rudely was talking to my mother, and my mother was a bit shaky. And my mother told me that I should be the head of the public health center. And so that's what I was told in my elementary school. So after I graduated my school, I was working with the prostitutes. I witnessed the human trafficking of the prostitutes. And when I was young, I wanted to become the Secretary General of the UN. I really literally visited all around the world following the dad, and my dad was being treated very well. And also I saw my dad was doing the volunteer work in a very rough environment in Africa, for example. And then after graduating my university, I thought that I really need to know about the current situation in Korea, then I should move to other countries. So now I have the certificate as a doctor, and I visited the Ministry of Health back then. And then I asked them to appoint myself as the head of the public health center. And they said that, what are you talking about? You're a woman. You cannot be the head of the public health center. And there was one catchphrase hung up on the wall. Like you can only have, for example, 2 or 3 children only, and they raise them, and you can have no more children. And I was asking about that message, and they asked me to go to the minister's office, and I went to the minister's office, and I told him that I want to become the head of the public health center. So please send me to any public health center. And then again, I asked the director of the division to appoint myself as the head of the public health center, but he continuously denied my request. I worked for the ministry for 6 months. How can they say that? And there was a news article, and also there was many stories around myself that there's a one woman who really want to become the head of the public health center. And then again, I visited the director's office to ask him to send me to public health center as a head. And I continuously asked that the person. And back in the 1970s, 1980s, 333, but back in the 1980s, there was a message, regardless of whether it is a boy or girl, just have it two and raise them well. And for 6 months, yes, you've been really literally following myself. And I can't understand why I cannot be the head of the public health center. And it turns out that my dad was the teacher who taught him. And then I also asked him, I want to become the regional director of the WHO. And then, who is your father? He asked me. My dad is Dr. Chu In-ho. You should have told me that at first. So I came to serve as the head of the public health center since then. So I believe that if it wasn't me, I think there will be no women head of the public health centers in Korea. Back then, I went to a rural area. I even burnt the rice straws and everything. Literally, I did everything that I could support the public health center. Literally, there were so many sick people around that area, and they did not have a medical card that they could receive a treatment. So on behalf of them, I wrote a letter to the Okton Public Health Center. And since then, I became the head of the Public Health Center. You really have to first identify the problems. You really have to think of why and why and why. So even up until now, there are many cases where I can't sleep thinking of why. So
리더십을 우리가
Listening to Dr. Chu, she probably has one of those pioneers who really opened the path for us to advance further. Never give up. Whoever is ready, you will have opportunity coming towards you. This is the leadership that we want to see in women. Yes, it is an honor to be actually sitting next to Dr. Chu because I respect her so much. And whenever I was kind of reluctant to be here because the name of the event includes the term women, right? But then now I'm here. I mean, that itself shows that I have changed. Time has changed. We have changed. You asked about if there is any difference between the role or leadership of women and men. I don't think so. What matters is their capacity and capability. Whether you're a man or a woman does not matter. For example, if you're in the military and if you're an officer, and you're a female, and you are controlling this huge weapon machine. On the outside, it's huge machine and controlling, which is controlled by a tiny female officer. See, regardless of the gender, in the future, the leaders must have the following three qualities. First, it's communication capability. A leader must be able to communicate with anyone. Second, very important, you need to be able to manage the intercultural conflicts, because today we are living in a globalized society where a lot of people from different backgrounds are gathered together and working together. There must be some conflicts and disputes, right? Because they are different. So then how you well manage them is the thing, right? And thirdly, you have to think about robots and AI coming into our territory of our tasks and jobs. In German car manufacturing company, BMW, in one manufacturing process, the factory, the cooperation between human and AI together, their performance was way better than humans alone or AIs alone. There is a scientific performance records for that, to prove that. So in conclusion, whether you're a man or women is not important. You only need to think about the future where human and AI needs to cooperate. And where today, how you will manage people from different backgrounds is important. But in the future, there can be some conflicts between human and the AI. So future leaders must be able to manage the conflicts between the human and the machine, right? The AI can, have the power to, promote you or cut your salary. So there can be some conflicts, and you really need to be able to manage that too. Thank you for your summary. All the good things and good performances, we may be aware of it. But what if there can be some shortfalls that you might have felt in the field in terms of leadership? Personally, I've worked in many different news companies, and I kind of regret that I should have had more broader point of view. Maybe then I could have, yielded a little more, gave in a little more, compromised a little more, and I could have become a better leader. So what advice could you give to future leaders in terms of, things that they could improve more? Yeah, there are a lot of shortcomings that I personally feel as a leader. I would say don't be too detailed or too specific. Try not to micromanage everything. When I was young, I was out there in the field. Yes, it is important to be detail oriented, but if you become a leader, you need to change. You need to let others to micromanage everything, and you need to manage them. And one of my colleagues said, when you get older, your eyesight gets older. Do you know why? Because there is a providence. Meaning, God is telling you to don't see things that you can't see. and leave those parts to your juniors. So accept that fact. Okay, but I missed that point when I was a leader. That's a really meaningful point. Yeah, if a leader, intervenes in everything, your juniors may feel tired. It's kind of a brag that you worked so hard, isn't it? But I see the point. Now the floor is open for any comments or questions for Dr. Chu or Secretary General Wu. The mic will be delivered to you if you raise your hand. Feel free to just raise your hand and make an eye contact with me. Now let's talk about some obstacles that hinder our leadership. As you lead, groups and organizations, you have accomplished so much. Dr. Chu, maybe, those higher ranked officers are the obstacles. So if there are some obstacles, what are they? Maybe our mindset, paradigm. There is a term called Chinese wall. There is invisible walls between departments. For workers, the most important thing is for you to get promoted and make more money. And then you get to compete with your colleagues. And that impedes the growth of the entire organization. And leaders need to be aware of those walls and work on breaking down those walls. So what efforts have you put in to break down those walls? Yeah, I bought a lot of lunch for my workers. But I have, to be honest, failed in a way. I mean, I really wish to break down those walls, but it was not easy because all those workers are smart people, and they know that if they cooperate for the group, it will be better. But what mattered for them, for some of them, more was that they themselves get promoted and make more money and grow as an individual. So if you're a leader, you really need to bring these smart people together and pursue good for both the group as a whole and individual workers. Thank you for your point. Yeah, it's really difficult. Easy to say. How about you, Dr. Chu?
쓰는 것이야. 이렇게
No, I never think so. All the people I work with have their own opinions. I never told them what to do. So at this moment, in the era where we live, we have to put our heads together to respond to pandemic disease, for example, COVID-19, but it is likely to continue for the next month also. We have to live with the virus. Everything comes from virus. I was never positive. I was never tested positive. I think it is thanks to my strong immune system. I just can feel that it has come to me and it has gone away. I was working for the UN. Was it probably 1988? Back then, there was a Rio Brazil Earth Summit. Back then, our Prime Minister attended at the summit and talked about how to develop Kumgang Mountain and also establish a peace park in DMZ. And we have put our opinions to the UN about that. I never knew that we had a DMZ in Yangon, but everything from the punch bowl and DMZ are located in Yangon, which makes the Yangon very beautiful area, which has a pristine fauna and flora system. And but then the size of the land around 1.7 meter square area is now empty lot after the military base was relocated to somewhere else. And I think we can use of that land, and we can use the land for peaceful purposes, for inter-Korean relations. We have to think about how we can invite representatives of the civil organizations and also religious leaders and students. I think we have to build a facility to hold international forum with them, which will really contribute to peaceful inter-Korean relations. This is one last hope that I have. As the head of the public health, this is one thing that I want: peaceful reunification between South and North. As I told you that my hometown is in North Korea. And one of the reasons why my mother lived until when she becomes 100 is that because she really hoped for reunification. And I really told her that maybe in 3 years of time, maybe in 5 years of time, we will be reunified with North Korea. When we are reunified with North Korea, we can go to Yeoncheon, which is very close from Yongsan. And also she graduated one of the high schools in North Korea, and also she was very close to the head of the orchestra in North Korea. But she had breathing issues, and she passed away when she was 100. So still, peaceful reunification between the two Koreas is one last hope that I have. I never knew what the Yangon, where the Yangon is located, but I really delivered this message for reunification between the two Koreas to the president and to all those people. When we build something remarkable in Yangon, that will really attract the people from around the world, right? North Korea cannot really imagine that they really have to strike South Korea or Yangon when we have this kind of a building for peaceful purposes. This is one of the reasons why I work here and work for Yangon. And also, as the head of the public health center, I always try to really listen to the opinions of people that I work with. And I always put the residents of Yangon before myself. At first, whenever I told the head of the GU office about the things that I want, he really didn't listen to me at first. And there are 3 special positions for deputy director. 1 position is taken by myself, and there are 2 left. And I'm thinking of the peaceful park, and I'm thinking about all of the ideas about how I can improve Yangon. There is one residence that I can leave and stay, so I really do not come to Seoul. And all I am thinking about is how I can really promote this reason, Yangon, to the world, since this is really beautiful area, having pristine nature. And there's a huge difference between daytime and nighttime in terms of temperature, which is very favorable condition to produce the very best apples. And all of the fruits are really good here in Yangon. And for about 45 minutes on the very first day that I went to Yangon, and nobody came out to pick me up, and I just was looking for what is good here and what's the best local produce in Yangon. And still, again, although I really speak up to my boss, I really do not do for the people who are working for me. So I am very soft to those who are working for me, but I'm very strong to those who I work for. So there could be a lot of career paths that you could choose, but it seems to me that you chose leadership to serve the general public and to serve more people. And also, I really was surprised by the pronunciation of her English. For example, shiregi and also the leaves of muli. She really has been telling us Yangu a lot. I think what she does itself is a leadership on behalf of the Yangu that she serves. Oh, that's a promise that she just made to us, right? So I'm going to prepare a coach for all of you. And also there's the president of one organization that she really told us she will come to Yangu. So please make sure that you leave your names on your way out. Then she will contact you. And the winter is cold, so please visit Yangu during the summertime.
There must be so much advice that, these panelists must want to give to their, followers or juniors because they have experienced so much. We got only 8 minutes left. Is it okay to, wrap up the session if there is no questions? So maybe the last question to Secretary General Wu, talking about, qualities of good leaders. Any leadership that you really admired and respected and you really wanted to learn? Yes, soft and considerate leadership. The higher was superior considers every aspect of their juniors. For example, one of your juniors has a family event or problems, then you join them to celebrate together or console them, comfort them together. I think that is one of the most important aspects of a leadership that you should have. It's different from intervening, right? Meddling in is different. I mean, if you are in a higher position, you tend to kind of lecture them. But what is more effective is to practice it yourself, show it. Then they will naturally follow you. Okay, so let's just hear one last words from the panelists. I majored in politics. The chapter 1 in my textbook was that the good politics is choosing authority over power or integrity over power. I think that lies in, the point that Secretary General Wu just mentioned. Dr. Chu, one closing comment for the future leaders, regardless of their genders. One last advice to them?
우리
Recently, I attend a lecture of the Professor Kim every month. And I asked the professor that what's the most important thing to cherish in your life? And he told me love. When you have love, then you can just understand everyone. You will not fight with anyone. And he is 103 years old, and how can you be so sound and healthy? He has so many things to do. That's what he told me, because I have so many things to do. And for a person who have so many things to do, there's no time to die because you have to plan ahead for things that you need to do. And also, he told me that it's God's blessing that you turned 75 years old. So do your best whenever and wherever. And also, Professor Kim recently passed away, but in March, when I saw him, when you are appointed as the head of the public center, I will come to you to really to congratulate you in person. And I met with him when I was 32 years old, and whenever I come to him, attending the meeting, having a meeting, I never saw him get angry. And 10 people come together to go for a short trip, and everyone asked him that how can you be so calm? Why you never get so angry? And he told me that that happens. Be calm. So there are only a couple of more days left until 2022. So please fill your heart with love and embrace everyone. And Philly Gang invited me to this event. I would like to personally thank her to give me this opportunity to really listen to me. And I believe that you really listen to me well. And please stay healthy. Thank you so much.
네.
Secretary General Wu, I have a lot of shortcomings, so I just want to quote one of renowned leaders from a long time ago. They said, a ship is in the safest state when it is settled in port, but it is not built to just be fixed and at ports. It needs to go out there into the wild ocean. That's what leaders need to do. So I like to advise all the future leaders to just not settle in complacency, but go out there and challenge yourself to accomplish more. Thank you. I am a reporter, and we got 1 minute and 30 seconds. So one question to Dr. Chu. What kind of leadership did you learn from your father?
그리고 아버님
All about softness. And I never saw him making a joke with others. And he was very fluent in 6 different languages. And the reason why he joined the WHO is that there were so many people who died from the pandemic diseases in India. As the very first person who represented Korea, he joined the WHO. So that when the French person asks him in French, then he could answer him in French. There are 5 different official languages, all of which that he was very fluent in. Prepare yourself. That's what he told me. Whenever you're ready, you can grab an opportunity. That's what I have learned from my parents. Attitude to be prepared. And now, what's your message toward your daughter from yourself?
I have a daughter, and she's my only child. So since young, I used to give her a lot of freedom. It's not like I neglect her, but when in hesitation, I encouraged her to pursue what she really wanted the most. And if you need advice, ask me for it. And up to now, she's she's living a decent life. So I don't think her life has been a failure. So thank you. This concludes the first session. I host a show with a renowned constructor in Korea, and they never lose their smile. And I asked her how, and they said, my next door lives a really renowned professor's couple. And then every weekend, I see only 2 pairs of shoes, while at my house, at the door, tons of shoes are out there. So what's really important in leadership is to be gentle and be really being exemplary. Thank you, everyone. This concludes the first session. Thank you very much. Go out there into the wild ocean. It was more like a talk show rather than discussion session. It was a really enjoyable time. Would like to thank our moderator and Dr. Chu and Secretary General Yu once again. We'll take a 10 minutes break and then move on to the second session. Thank you and see you in 10 minutes.